Welcome back to Four Wolves Takes. We're your boy, Artis Woods. We'll bring you four fresh Minnesota Timberwolves takes. We are knee-deep into the NBA's offseason. So as you predict and expect, there is a ton to get into today. Again, welcome back to Four Wolves Takes. The NBA draft has come and gone. NBA free agency has officially begun. You got players planning on flying to different cities to talk contracts and roles and things of that nature. You got fans clamoring for different stars to come to their city and make an impact, right? You got teams trying to hold on to their players and make big-time moves. I mean, this is one of the best parts of the year. You got the NBA regular season, you got the NBA playoffs, you got the finals, and you got free agency, man. For me, that's my favorite. I love the draft as well, but something about free agency, when that starts, man, it's lit most of the time, especially in the NBA. And so we'll see what happens with this one. Maybe not with the Wolves. I don't see them making any big-time moves in free agency, given what they've already done. I do expect them to go get a vet minimum guy, like I stated on last week's episode. But all in all, I think the Wolves are in a good spot. And I must admit, people, you see, before the NBA draft, I was a little about, reports that basically said the Wolves ain't making no moves. The Wolves don't plan on trading nobody. The Wolves plan on running it back. I stated how I felt about that. I just wasn't sure about it. But then the draft happened, and it's changed my perspective. Let's get into the first take of the day. Got to give this man some credit. Tim Connelly. I think he's a top 3 GM in basketball. Top 3 NBA GM. Yes, there are some other names you can throw in this conversation, right? Leon Rose is pretty good, right? Brad Stevenson obviously just won a championship, right? There's a ton of different names you can get into. Sam Presti. But when I look at Tim Connelly and the things he's done as of late, because I'm talking current, I'm not talking over the past decade or whatever. I'm talking just current, what he has done as of late, what he has built. I think about, obviously, the fact that he's the GM of the Wolves right now, but I think about the Denver Nuggets. I think about the fact that he built that championship team from scratch. They just won a championship last year, right? You drafted Jokic. You drafted Jamal Murray. You drafted Michael Porter Jr. You brought in key pieces like Aaron Gordon and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Literally built a championship roster from scratch. And then left to go to Minnesota and ironically had to figure out a way to take down the team you just beat or the team you just built, the championship roster you just built. Now I got to figure out how we can beat these guys. It's crazy. But what does he do? He looks at the roster of the Minnesota Timberwolves and he says, okay, what do we need? We have a young budding superstar in Anthony Edwards. We have Karl-Anthony Towns. We have some other young pieces we could probably build off of. We could use some leadership. We could use some defense. Let's go and get a guy like Mike Conley, one of the best vets in the game, and can still play at a high level when need be, when healthy. Let's go make a trade for Rudy Gobert. And again, full disclosure, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When a trade for Rudy Gobert was made, I was not a big fan of the trade. We all saw how Rudy played with the Utah Jazz in the postseason, year after year. It seemed like he was a liability defensively. Teams will go small and run him off the floor one way or another, right? But Tim Connelly looked at that and said, nah, I don't think it'll be the same here in Minnesota. And to his credit, this team got to the Western Conference Finals this past year with Rudy Gobert winning Defensive Player of the Year and being a big part of the reason why the Wolves got that far to begin with. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and sugarcoat it like I ain't said nothing bad. Well, I won't say bad. Like I haven't critiqued Rudy Gobert's play from time to time because, hey, Rudy, not a perfect player, but nobody is. All I'm saying is that move helped the Wolves get to where they have gotten, right? And then you come up on this NBA draft. And it's no secret. Like I said before, the Wolves need another playmaking guard, another guard that can playmake for himself and playmake for others. A guy that can put the ball in the basket and score when necessary, when need be, right? You need more scoring probably coming off of the bench. You need to improve this offense in general. And you go into this draft and draft two of the best offensive players in the draft. And you do so by aggressively moving up to the top 8 while keeping your other first-round pick. I think what he has done has been very smart, very special, very strategic, finding a way to get maybe day one difference makers on your roster, right? Young, talented, without having to give up or obviously we weren't going to give up Anthony Edwards, but without having to give up Karl Anthony Towns, without having to give up Naz Reid or Jaden McDaniels or any other guy that had major impact on the Wolves getting as far as they did this past season. We're going to keep this intact, but we're going to get some guys that can contribute day one. And I got to give him credit for that because, again, I wanted DeJounte Murray. I wanted a game-changing, point guard with experience or guard with experience. Somebody who had been in the league a while. Somebody who was proven on both sides of the floor, right? That's what I wanted. But that was my way of, I call it the microwave thinking. In today's society, I said it on Taxi Squad, I'll say it again here. Today's society, it's all about the microwave. Nobody wants to put the food in the oven these days. And I am a byproduct of that microwave. I love the microwave. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Hey, if I am hungry, I ain't got time to be putting nothing in the oven. I'm pop this thing in the microwave, eat and go about my business. Tim Connelly is like, no, we're going to put this in the oven because when it comes out, I want it to be able to win now and win later as well. I respect that. I understand that. Building on that youth. I think he's top 3, and I think he knows what he knows what is necessary to build a championship roster. He did it in Denver. He's in the process of doing it here with the Minnesota Timberwolves. On to take number 2. Let's get to these draft picks. I purposely didn't say their names because I want to save them for their own individual take. Take number 2, Rob Dillingham has potential to be a star. I worded it, Rob Dillingham has star potential. Same thing. The boy can play. The young man can play. You moved up to 8 to draft him for a reason. Out of Kentucky, the man has great handle. The man shot 44% from the trade just this past season with Kentucky, right? So he can shoot from pretty much anywhere on the floor. He can shot create. He can facilitate. He can hoop. That's what he can hoop. Now, there's a difference between a basketball player and a hooper. Basketball players, I'm not going to name any names, but basketball players, they run the offense. They do what needs to be done, Might not be the fastest, might not be the strongest, might not have anything that's like over the top skill-wise, but they just, all of their entire game just balances itself out, if you know what I mean, right? There's nothing necessarily like flashy about them. You know what I mean? But then there's the hooper that you might have a couple deficiencies in some areas, but them other areas where you don't have deficiencies, your handle is crazy. You can shoot the ball, lights out. You got quickness. You got athleticism. You got just the herky-jerky kind of, y'all know what I mean, like that hot sauce kind of, that Allen Iverson cross type of game. And Rob is a hooper. And I love that because that's what the Wolves need. They need a hooper. They need another guy they could get the ball to and say, look, man, they loading up on Ant, go get a bucket or go make a play. Go score, go shoot, whatever the case may be, make a play. And Rob is just that. I do have questions about Rob, though. He does have to bulk up a bit, right? He is undersized. Remember, I brought up deficiencies in the hooper. Rob is not the greatest defender. We know that, right? So there are things that he has to work on. But the potential is there. And he's a guy that's going to contribute probably 7th man right after Naz Reid coming off the bench. He's somebody that's going to contribute right away, probably get a lot of playing time too if Mike Conley can't play the whole season or is just trying to kind of load manage throughout the season to make sure he's ready. His body is where it needs to be come playoff time. He's going to get a lot of play. He's going to get a lot of minutes. He's going to get a lot of tick in his rookie season. So I thought this was a great draft, a great move, things to work on, but at least now you have Jaden on one end, you have Ant on another end, you got Rudy in the paint, you got other defenders around you that can make it a little tough to just key in on trying to ISO Rob and, expose him, right? And that's what you need. That's what you need. And so, love the draft pick, moving up to 8 to get Rob. Can't nobody, that's what I forgot to say about Tim, really quick. the aggressiveness. You got to applaud the aggressiveness. You love the aggressiveness. Getting Mike Conley, getting Rudy Gobert, moving up and keeping your other first-round draft pick and drafting Rob. You just love the aggressiveness if you're a fan of the Wolves. If you're a fan of sports in general, you got to love that aggressiveness from a general manager. It shows that he sees a window, and I want to capitalize on this window and make it as large as possible. But take number 3. Terrence Shannon Jr., a guy I don't think enough people are talking about right now. He should not be slept on. This boy can play. He can play. And to be able to get him as late as you did while also getting Rob is a complete steal. This man averaged 23 points a game this past season in Illinois. Another guy who can create his own shot, create for others. He has size, right? He can guard, he can defend. Really good getting downhill, really good in transition, physical. This is another guy that, again, can come in and contribute day one to the Wolves scoring. It was clear going into this draft, the Wolves prioritized scoring the basketball because we all know a deficiency for the Wolves the later the playoffs went is, man, they just cannot score the basketball. Guys can't create. And so getting a guy like Terrence Shannon Jr., I think is also a big-time pickup. He could come in, in place of Jaden from time to time and come in, shoot the ball, create, get buckets. Again, that's what you need. And like I said, he has the size to play the 2 to 3. If you want to go really small, really small, throw him at the 4 here and there. That probably won't happen, but it's just a thought. It's just a thought. I would try it out. But all in all, you drafted 2 players, man, that could come in and make an immediate impact. That's how I'm looking at this. And 2 players that filled 2 voids in this team that you desperately needed to get to the next level. How quickly they will ascend into who they need to be, we will see. Obviously, both players will go through their growing pains, but both Rob and Terrence are day one contributors, and I expect them to come out and play pretty well to start. And play pretty well. But again, don't sleep on Terrence, man. And don't be shocked. He's 23 years old. Do not be shocked if he comes out and has a greater impact than Rob right away. Or he comes out and is playing better than Rob right away because he just simply a little older, got a little bit more experience on the floor. And has the size. He's the prototypical ball player. Prototypical NBA player. 6'6". What's that, 210 pounds? Yeah. He's already NBA made. So, just want to throw that out there. Do not sleep on that pick. Last take of the day. I could not let this show go by without bringing up something that happened before the draft. Coach Finch got a new contract. Shout out to Coach Finch. Shout out to Coach Finch, who earned every bit of his contract. That is the final take. He has earned every bit of his contract. Just signed a 4-year extension, and I am beyond happy for Coach Finch. The impact that he had for the Wolves this season, everybody wants to play for him, right? They clearly listen to him. He's not afraid to hold players accountable. He's not afraid of that at all. And he made great adjustments in the playoffs. And I was nervous about that. Granted, you lost Karl-Anthony Towns during the season. A lot of people thought that the Wolves were going to fall off. Coach Finch kept that defense intact, got Naz Reid out there and made the necessary adjustments to stay competitive, to stay a top 3 seed in the Western Conference, with the chance with Cat coming back to ultimately get the 1 seed. It just didn't, or at least the 2 seed, it just didn't shake down that way because they ended up losing and other teams that ended up winning. But the fact that you kept this team competitive, kept this team in a 3 seed, then got to the playoffs, got all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and made a lot of great adjustments. A lot of great adjustments. I thought going into the Phoenix Suns series, you'd have Jaden on KD. No, we put Jaden on Devin Booker. Extremely smart. Anthony Edwards on Bradley Beal. Extremely smart. Karl-Anthony Towns on Kevin Durant. I didn't expect these matchups. These matchups worked extremely well. When need be, you went small in the Suns series. That contributed to a sweep. Then you got the Nuggets series, a back and forth series. It is hard to win 2 games on the road to start the series and then drop the next 2 and mentally get your team back intact after actually dropping the next 3 and get your team back motivated and intact and just mentally sound enough to come back and win in game 6 and then turn around and win in game 7. These are the defending champs we're talking about. Great defensive switch-ups, great offensive switch-ups and tweaks. Now, the Mavs series was tough. But all in all, Coach Finch, man, this team loves him. They want to play for him. And he deserved literally every bit of his contract extension. So shout out to Coach Finch, man. I also think that Finch is one of the top coaches in the game. You know, and again, this is different for me because I was very, very critical of him. I just thought his usage of timeouts at time was not where it needed to be. He allowed teams to go on runs, and it was just, I will never get the image out of my head of the Memphis Grizzlies coming back from 2 20-point leads in a playoff game. It's crazy. But the past is the past. Shout out to Finch. He deserved every bit of his contract extension, and the future is promising for him. Oh, and just can't forget the man coached through a playoffs with a torn patella tendon. Remarkable. Shout out to Coach. But that's all I have for you all today. I appreciate you all for tuning in to this week's episode of Four Wolves Takes. There is more to come. Y'all tune in to NBA free agency, man. Like I said, it should be exciting. We got some players, big-time players opting out of deals. Players becoming available. Again, who knows what the Wolves do or what they have the money to do. But I don't think Tim is done. I think he's going to make some small moves and make this team even better going into next season. Until next time, I will catch you all on the next episode of Four Wolves Takes.